boys and girls, it's Miss Bissell. We are getting ready to start a new unit today. We're starting with topic 13. This is one of my favorite chapters in the book. We are going to deal with some fun concepts in topic 13. Some of the things we're going to deal with are going to be writing and interpreting numerical expressions. So if you will grab a sheet of paper. You know what? Notebook paper is fine today. If you have graph paper, that's fine too, but notebook paper will do. And you'll need your pencil and your book open to page 538. If you need to run and go get your materials, I will wait on you. Those of you that are ready, we're going to get going. So we're on page 538, and we're going to look at the essential question. What order should you use when you evaluate an expression? So let's hit some of the key vocabulary here. When you put something in order, that means you follow a certain number of steps. So we're looking at some kind of order. When we evaluate is just a fancy way to say solve. And an expression is basically a set of numbers, a set of numbers with some operational symbols, and you're looking for the value of it. But you know what? If you take a look at what we're looking at something that is a numerical expression that has quite a few different operation symbols. So today's lesson is going to focus on the order that we all as mathematicians use to solve it so that we don't argue with each other about what the correct problem is going to be. So I'm going to use the example on page 538 to get us started. So this right here, we have Jack evaluating the product of 7 and 2, from which he takes away 3, and then he's going to add to it 8 divided by 2 times 3. Wow, that is a lot of operations. So to avoid getting more than one answer, because if all of us work this out, we could all have lots of answers that we could defend as being correct. But if we don't have a order that we all understand, a set of rules, then how do we determine who is right? So this is called order of operations. So the boy is telling us that parentheses, brackets, and braces are all used to group numbers in numerical expressions. So I want to talk about that. Parentheses, you already know, look like this. All right, I see parentheses up here around the product of 7 and 2. Brackets look like squared parentheses, okay? And then braces, these are the little squiggly things. And I always think if you look at somebody that has braces on their teeth and you look at them from the side, I always think that if you look on that side view, that looks like a brace sitting on the front of somebody's tooth that the wire's getting ready to go through. So these are some important symbols that we're going to be looking at. I see in this particular numerical expression both the parentheses and the brackets. Now, if you notice, parentheses come first, brackets would come around them, and then, we might even have something like this where we'd have the braces, okay? But not in this particular problem. All right, so those are called the grouping symbols, all right? And this is the most important thing right here. So when we evaluate a numerical expression, we start inside the parentheses, the brackets, and the braces. And then once the work inside of these grouping symbols has been evaluated, then we're going to work on multiplication and dividing from left to right. Sometimes within the grouping symbol, we have to follow that order. And last, we're going to do adding and subtracting from left to right. Okay? So there are other operations, but since we're in 5th grade, we don't have to worry about exponents and evaluating those. So really, we're just going to work on the parentheses, the brackets and braces, known as the grouping symbols. We're going to start with those. We're going to move to the multiplication and division. And if you think about it, multiplication and division are related. They're inverse operations. All right, so we would work on those next. And then adding and subtracting are inverse operations, and we'd work on those. And just like reading a book, these two are going to be completed left to right. So without any further discussion, let's just do some. So step 1, following the order of operations, first we're going to take care of evaluating what's in the parentheses. So I see 7 times 2 will give you 14. Now that is all we've evaluated. And we do take a lot of paper to do this because we go step by step. So then we haven't used the left bracket. We haven't used the -3 and the right bracket or anything else. So we bring it down. And then we move on to the next step. So next, we still have grouping symbols. So we have to take care of what's inside the bracket. So 14 minus 3, when we evaluate that, we get 11. And notice, we bring down everything else, symbols and numbers that we haven't used yet. And now we're ready for step 2. So we're going to multiply and divide in order from left to right. So we have 11 plus, and we have 8 divided by 2 times 3. So I'm going to do left to right, the 8 divided by 2 first. So I'm going to bring down the 11 plus, haven't used it. 8 divided by 2 gives me 4. Bring down the times 3. Now I have 11 plus 4 times 3. So boys and girls, I still am working on the multiplication and division, moving left to right. So I have to take care of the 4 times 3, which is 12. Bring down the 11 plus. Finally, I'm ready to take care of that last operation, and 11 plus 12 gives me 23. So when I evaluate this expression, the answer is 23, or the value of the expression is 23. All right? So let's do a couple of these, and I'm not kidding. We are not going to shortcut anything. We're going to write very neatly because sometimes sloppy writing will cause us to have some problems wrong. And honestly, we need to make sure that we are following the order of operations. All right. So I'm just going to jump in and do a couple problems with you. So I am actually starting in your book on page 539, and we're going to do these 3 through 6 together, okay? So I'm moving my book out of the way, and I'm going to use my pencil. If you would just put on your paper, please, that this is page 539, and the name of this lesson is Evaluate Expressions. All right, when we're done with this paper, all right, if you don't have a stapler at home, I will be glad to give you one when you come to school, and let's fold this and staple it on page 539. And that way you have some good examples to look at. So let's just start with writing down our order of operations. So we're going to start with our grouping symbols. Okay, so step 1, and I'm just going to do grouping symbols. Those we have to take care of any work inside of them. Sometimes it's just one simple operation. So we've got our parentheses, our brackets, and our braces. So that's going to be step 1. After we evaluate, or sometimes while we're within the grouping symbols, if we have multiplication and division, we're going to take care of that next. So we multiply and divide left to right. And the last thing we're going to do is, once we don't have any more multiplication and division, we are going to add and subtract from left to right. All right, so that's just getting our train of thought going here. So let's start with problem number 3. So problem number 3, we have a left bracket, 7 times, and then we have a left parentheses, 6 minus 1, right parentheses, right bracket, plus 100. All right, so let's talk about how we're going to move. So when I go up here, see, I need to take care of whatever's in the grouping symbols first, okay? So 6 minus 1 needs to be evaluated, and 6 minus 1 is, of course, 5. So we have only solved this part. We've only evaluated the 5. We still have the left bracket, the 7 and the times. We still have the right bracket and the plus 100. Okay? And we forgot my equal signs. All right, I'm working from row to row as I work, and I'm trying to keep it very neat. All right, so I still have a grouping symbol. So now I'm going to take care of evaluating what is inside of the braces. 7 times 5 is 35. As soon as I evaluate what's inside a grouping symbol and there's no more numbers except for the value of what's in there, then I can make the grouping symbols disappear. And then I need to bring down the plus 100. At this point, we're ready to evaluate 100 plus 35. I don't even think you need to stack it up and add. I think we all know that that's going to be 135. So the value of our expression is 135. All right, let's look at number 4. And again, we're going to follow these directions right here. If you want to put a big star right here and put steps. I will talk to you about PEMDAS another day. If your parents are whispering that in your ears right now, we'll talk about that another day. All right, number 4, 17 plus 4 plus 3. No, times 3, excuse me. Help if Miss Bissell writes it correctly. All right, so let's talk about evaluating this expression. I don't have any grouping symbols, so I don't have to worry about step 1. I do have multiplication and division. So what I see is in this 4 times 3 is my multiplication. So I'm just going to take a different color. You guys use your pencil. I'm going to put parentheses around it to tell myself that's what I'm getting ready to do. I need to take care of the multiplication before I do any addition. So when I add 17 plus, I now have 4 times 3 is 12. And at this point, I'm now ready to add, and 17 plus 12 is 29. You can do that without stacking it up. So the value of this expression is 29. So that one wasn't so bad, was it? I added, I hope you noticed, those parentheses to help me focus on what I was going to do next, okay? You can do that. You can add parentheses if you need to. All right, number 5, we're going to be working with the sum of 8 and 1, and we're going to add to it 9 times 7. So let's go up to our steps. We do have a grouping symbol, so I need to do the work within the parentheses. So if I evaluate 8 plus 1, I get 9. The parentheses disappear because I've evaluated what's within them. I'm going to bring down the plus 9 and the times 7. And then I'm going to look at this. I am either going to be adding 9 and 9 together or multiplying 9 times 7. So when I go up, I know I always take care of all multiplication and division, moving left to right if I have multiples of that, before I take care of addition and subtraction. So I'm going to use that orange again just so you can see. Use your pencil, and put parentheses around the multiplication because we're going to multiply before we add. All right, so 9 plus, I haven't used yet, and I evaluate 9 times 7 is 63. All right, I forgot my equal signs. And now I'm ready to evaluate 9 plus 63 gives me a sum of 72. So the value of this whole expression is 72. All right, I hope you're starting to feel pretty good about this. Keep referring up to your steps, okay? Let's look at number 6. Number 6 has all kinds of grouping symbols. We start with our left brace. Then we have a left bracket, then a left brace. Then we have a left parentheses and a 4 times 3. Then we have our right parentheses, our division symbol, a 2. Then we have a right brace plus 3 and a right bracket. I said that backwards again. I'm sorry. I should not make videos late in the evening. All right, let me go back. I have a right bracket plus 3 and a right brace times 6. All right, with all these grouping symbols, I know from step 1, I'm going to start with those, and we start with the parentheses and we move outward. So parentheses, then brackets, then braces. So you know what? The only thing I'm going to deal with right now is what's in the parentheses, which is 4 times 3. I've evaluated it. The parentheses will disappear, but if you notice, I still have the left bracket and the left brace. I still need to do something with divide by 2. The right bracket the plus 3, the right brace, and the times 6. Notice how I'm very carefully copying what I haven't used down onto my next line. All right, now I'm moving still in those grouping symbols, and the next grouping symbol, I work from parentheses outward, so I've got the brackets next to work with, and right here's my operation in it. 12 divided by 2 is 6. The brackets disappear because I evaluated what was in them, but I still have a left brace, plus 3, a right brace, and a times 6. All right, not so bad when you take it one step at a time. All right, I have one grouping symbol, the braces, 6 plus 3, I will evaluate 9, so the braces disappear. I bring down the times 6, so the value of this very complicated looking expression is 54. All right, so we've worked a couple of those. All right, let's move into our textbook on the independent practice, and let's do a couple of those, okay? Now, at any point, if you want to try one and pause me and then come back to see if you got it right, that's always a good idea too. That's the beauty of a video. Different kids can use different levels of support, right? So if you need more support from me, you're going to work with me and just pause the video. Okay, I'm just going to say it again. I've said it in class all year, and I feel like a lot of you aren't listening. Whatever examples I'm doing, you should have written down. And unlike class, if I'm moving fast, you can just pause me. Then when you get it written down, you can play me again. All right, so you get to control me. All right, so page 539, let's move on down. And why don't we look at number 10? Okay, we're just going to continue. So don't forget our steps, and if we just want to jot them down, I'm just going to shortcut them right here. So step 1 is going to be my grouping symbols, parentheses, brackets, and braces. All right, my step 2 is going to be multiplication and division, and I'm going to be moving left to right. Make a little asterisk there, okay? The last step is going to be the addition and the subtraction, and again, I'm going to make a little note that we're moving left to right. So all I did, boys and girls, right here is I just abbreviated the steps to make this easy for me, okay? Just so I could have something visual to look at. So number 10 in the book, we have 5 divided by 5. Then we have plus 4 times 12. So I've got 3 operations here, division, addition, multiplication. I don't have any grouping symbols, so step 1 is not going to help me. I'm going straight to step 2. And I'm going to need to multiply and divide, moving left to right. Now I'm going to use, again, my orange pen. You boys and girls just use a pencil. But I have multiplication with 5 divided by 5, and division, and I have multiplication with 4 times 12. If I work left to right, this is the first thing I'm going to do, okay? So let's move from there. 5 divided by 5 gives us 1. Now we bring down everything we haven't used. So we're going to bring down the plus, the 4, the times, the 12. All right. Sorry about that. And now we're ready to look. We still have 1 addition, 1 plus 4, or we have 1 multiplication, 4 times 12. So we have to take care of the multiplication and the division before we add. So I'm going to put my parentheses right there. You do that with your pencil. That lets whoever's looking over your work know that that's what you're doing next. Go ahead and bring down the 1 plus because we haven't used it. And 4 times 12 is 48. And now we're ready to evaluate it. So when I add, I get 49. So the value of this big, long, complicated expression with 3 operation symbols in it is 49. All right. Let's try number 11. So again, if you want to pause me and try this on your own, you're welcome to do that. Number 11 has some grouping symbols in it, so I like this one. So we're going to do a left bracket, 6 minus left brace, 3 times 2, right parentheses and right bracket, plus 4. All right, again, everything we do, we follow the order of operations. So do we have any grouping symbols? Absolutely. We have parentheses and we have the brackets. So we start with the innermost grouping symbol, which is the parentheses. So 3 times 2 is 6. You know what? That right bracket comes down, the minus symbol comes down, the 6 and the left bracket, because everything comes down after we have evaluated what's in parentheses and we have lost the parentheses. Then we're going to add 4. All right, so when I add, all right, I'm going to work what's in the brackets. All right, I still have some grouping symbols. So 6 minus 6 is 0. We add to that 4. 0 plus 4 is 4. All right, so excuse me, I'm being disrupted right now. All right. I'm looking to see which other ones I might want to work with you. You know what? I really like number 13, so let's skip down to number 13. Number 13, we have the sum in parentheses of 18 and 7, and we're going to multiply that times the difference in parentheses of 11 and 7. Now, you have 2 kinds of grouping symbols that are the same, parentheses, and in this case, since you only have one operation in them, you can work these 2 at the same time. Okay, so let's start on the left side. 18 plus 7, we get 25. The parentheses disappear because we've evaluated what's in them. We bring down the times, and we can go ahead and find the difference of 11 and a 7, which is 4. And again, those parentheses disappear. And we have our last operation to deal with. 25 times 4 is 100. All right. So that was one where you have the same parentheses, the same grouping symbol, okay? Now, let's try another one. You know what? I like number 15. Kind of does this same thing a little differently. So we have the sum of 9 and 11 in parentheses. We're going to divide the sum of 9 and 11 by the sum of 5, 4, and 1. All right, so let's think about what we're going to do here first. We have 2 sets of parentheses. I'm going to start with this one. So 9 plus 11 gives us 20. All right, the parentheses disappear. We evaluated what's in them. Down comes the division symbol, and now we're ready to add. Because of the commutative property of addition, you can add these in any order you want to, and you can add them all at one time. It's not going to matter. 5, 4, and 1 is going to give you a sum of 10. The parentheses can disappear at that point. We can't do that unless we have really addition in here or multiplication, right? It's the only time we could do 3 numbers like that. All right, 20 divided by 10, we're ready to evaluate this. It is 2. So the value of that expression is 2. All right. Let's see. I'm trying to pick one that looks a little more complicated. You know what? Why don't we do number 17? Number 17. We don't have any grouping symbols, but we have 3 different operations. So let's start with 120 minus 40 divided by 4 times 6. All right, so we don't have the grouping symbols, but we have to take care of all multiplication and division first, moving left to right. So as I look across, here's a subtraction, 120 minus 40. Here is my first multiplication or division, 40 divided by 4. So go ahead and put your parentheses around that one, and that's where we start. 40 divided by 4 is 10. We haven't used the 120 minus, and we haven't used the times 6. All right, now go back up. We still have to take care of some multiplication and division. We have a subtraction and a division, so let's put parentheses around the multiplication to show we're taking care of that. 10 times 6 is 60. All right, the 120 comes down. 120 minus 60 is 60. And there is our value of that expression. All right. So boys and girls, I think I'm going to leave you with that. I am going to ask you if you want to do a couple more. I'm going to let you hang on in a minute and I will put those up. If you just want to pause me, if there's any that you want to work on page 539, any of them, let's say numbers, let's say 6 through, or let's just say 10 through 18. Any of them that I didn't work that you want to look at, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put up my solutions to those. So if you want to pause me now, all right, I'm going to put those up. Some of them I've already worked. So here's my work that I've already done. All right, we're going to ignore this. We're going to talk about this tomorrow. All right, so if you worked any of these out, 3, 4, 5, and 6 we did together. 10 and 11, I think we did those, right? 10 and 11, I'm looking. Yes, we did those. So the other ones right here would be 12 through 18. Okay, so 12, I'll leave that right there a minute. If you want to look at that one, the value is 24. Number 13 we did 100. 14 is 36. If you need to look at my work on that one. 15 we did together. 16, 40 is our answer. 17 I believe we did together, and 18 works out to be 29 is the value of that expression. All right. So what I would like you to do is turn back to your book to page 538. And like I said, we're going to try to staple this in your book on page 539. So if you don't have a stapler at home, we can do that at school. But let's look at this again. What order should you use when you evaluate an expression? So hopefully you've seen that we take care of any of the grouping symbols as step 1, brackets, braces, parentheses, and we work from the inside out. So really we take care of parentheses work first, then the brackets, then the braces. Then we take care of all multiplication and division, moving from left to right. Then, last but not least, all addition and subtraction, moving left to right. So you're going to have a practice buddy to work on. I'm going to remind you, probably this will be one of the first grades for the second quarter of school. I haven't quite decided yet, but I'm going to remind you that you boys and girls need to get your work completed on the day it's assigned, and that practice buddies, you have a chance to redo them. So think about what your acceptable grade is for your parents. If you score an 80 and your parents like you to score a 90 or above, so you have A's, then you can redo the practice buddy. All right. If your parents are happy with an 80 or even a 75 because you've struggled in math in the past and that's acceptable, by all means, then don't feel like you have to redo it. But, are we just redoing our work for a better grade, or are we redoing it for better understanding? And I hope we're doing it for better understanding. All right. Typically, that's what a better grade indicates if you're doing your own work. All right. So you decide. You do get a second attempt on practice buddies, but, don't spend your whole evening redoing work over and over again, okay? Just do it good the first time. You will need scratch paper out when you're doing your practice buddy, all right? When you're done and you've written on it that it's less than 13-1 and you put the date on it, make sure you put that piece of paper. We're just using notebook paper. Make sure you put it in your 3-ring binder behind your math work tab. That way, if I need to ever look at it, I can see what you're doing wrong in the order of operations. All right, boys and girls, I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I will see you tomorrow.